This video is going to be all about mastering the art of passive income, and no, I won't ask you to sign up for any newsletters or promote a get-rich-quick guide, because this isn't IRL money we're talking about. I'll leave that stuff to Andrew Tate and his Hustlers University, but what I will talk to you about today is the Nightclub in GTA Online and how it can be your best friend if you want to earn lots of money. The most important thing to understand about the Nightclub is that it's one of the best long-term investments you can make in the entire game, so starting as early as possible will give you an advantage. And while it's slightly more complex than your typical cargo, warehouse, or MC business, once you understand how warehouse management works, the Nightclub transforms into one of the best sources of passive income in the entire game. But before we begin here, there's a caveat. Getting the Nightclub early is good, but only if you can afford it. And I know I said this is a long-term investment, so get it as early as possible, but you'll put yourself in serious trouble at the very start of the game if you invest your first $2 million on a brand new Nightclub with a bunch of fancy upgrades that only add cosmetic value. Besides, there's honestly no point in getting a Nightclub first if you don't already own at least a few other businesses, because one of your main sources of income is the warehouse, and unless you assign any technicians to source illicit goods for you, you're going to be losing out on millions of dollars of potential income. So wait a few weeks, grab yourself a math lab or a Coca-Cola lockup, special cargo warehouse, or a hangar, and then you can buy into a conveniently located Nightclub to further boost the income from your other businesses. And speaking of conveniently located, the ideal spot for a Nightclub is at the center of the map. You don't want to go too far south, because then you'll have to waste a lot of time driving your really slow delivery vehicles anytime you need to do a cell mission. Often the cell missions will take you to the northern part of the map, which means locations like LSIA or even Elysian Island will force you to drive across the entire map in your Mule or Pounder Custom. So in my opinion here, you should save up for either the downtown Vinewood Nightclub or the West Vinewood Nightclub. These are priced at $1.7 million, but they're worth it for the amount of time they'll save you. I like the West Vinewood location because I don't really like pulling into the garage with downtown Vinewood, but maybe you do. Alternatively, instead of downtown Vinewood or West Vinewood, you could also go for the Del Perro location, as it's really close to the agency in Little Seoul and Vespucci Canals, so you can spawn right into your agency, stock up on your ammo and snacks, maybe start a Dr. Dre contract if you want, and then visit your Nightclub in between missions to keep the popularity at maximum. Now I will explain popularity shortly, but for now just know that the further north you go with your Nightclub location, the better. Then later in your career, you'll have vehicles like the Oppressor and Deluxo, so getting around between your other various businesses won't take as long, but cell missions are going to be a lot easier with the centrally placed Nightclubs, as they're right next to freeways. Alright, now that we've decided on which Nightclub to buy, let's talk a little bit about the initial setup. First, you'll need to buy a Nightclub from Maze Bank Foreclosures website on your phone, then you'll be asked to select from a variety of additional options during checkout. You've got your Nightclub style, light rig, dancers, dry ice, and all that good stuff that looks really pretty, but ignore it for now because these are just cosmetic upgrades and they'll burn a hole in your pocket if this is your first time purchasing a Nightclub. However, there is one option you should definitely pick if you can afford it, and that's the storage. What storage does is give you more space in the basement, both for your goods and your vehicles. You can get up to 4 extra floors for Nightclub warehouse goods, so your cell missions will be way more profitable. And as a bonus, you can also get up to 3 extra garage floors, each holding a maximum of 10 cars, so an extra 30 vehicle slots, which is pretty awesome. But if you don't have the money for a storage expansion right now, no big deal. You can always come back later and renovate your Nightclub on the website for the added space. It does cost $1.7 million in total for 4 additional warehouse floors and about $550,000 for the 3 additional garage floors, however, but keep in mind you can also buy these floors individually if you want over time. Now, once you've actually purchased your Nightclub, you'll have to sit and visit and talk with Gay Tony to start this business, and there are some really funny cutscenes featuring Tony Prince and everyone's favorite radio host Laszlo Jones. Next, you'll be asked to complete 2 missions, and in the first one, you visit a music festival and steal a bus filled with audio equipment from some hippies, and then in the second mission, you and English Dave race through the streets of Los Santos to rescue DJ Solomon while his plane undergoes a rapid unscheduled descent, aka a crash, because the pilot is too drunk after their last party. Now, once you get your first DJ, your Nightclub can start raking in legal income through the dance floor and the built-in bar, while you're free to pursue your more illicit activities away from the prying eyes of the public, up in the second floor office. Now here inside your office, you have your computer, which is used to manage everything from DJs to Nightclub promotions and warehouse technicians. You can also install upgrades through your Nightclub computer, and these are the typical staff and equipment upgrades that you see in various other businesses in the game. The equipment upgrade costs costs $1.4 million, and it will allow your warehouse techs to source goods faster. The staff upgrade costs $475,000, and that will give you additional bartenders and bouncers to reduce daily popularity loss. And finally, there's the security upgrade, which costs around $700,000, but honestly, in my opinion, you can skip this one as raids won't really happen unless you're registered as a CEO or MC president constantly. So just get in, do your business, then disband or retire as soon as you get out. Oh, also, you don't have to worry about raids unless you have a sizable amount of stock in your warehouse anyway, and that's at least about 40% from my experience. But I still have it purchased just because I had the money to do so, and I just want to minimize that with all my businesses. But that can be the last one you upgrade for sure. All right, now that we've set up our nightclub, it's time to talk about the thing that you guys are here for: money. Or rather, how you can use your nightclub to make lots of money in the background while you drive around doing other stuff in the game. So the first source of income in your nightclub is the office safe, which accumulates a fixed $50,000 each day, as long as you keep that popularity meter maxed out. You can check your popularity by dropping into your nightclub every 48 minutes, and you'll receive either a bouncer mission or a VIP escort mission, depending on randomized chance. The bouncer missions are a lot faster than the VIP escort missions, and just last year, you could guarantee a troublemaker spawn by walking into the nightclub and passive mode, but someone at Rockstar caught on to this because that's been patched with the Agents of Sabotage update, but still you will get a lot of them. And honestly, even if you get a VIP escort mission, it takes less than 5 minutes and it will give you an easy 25% boost in popularity. Alternatively, if you don't want to waste any time driving around a drunk guy while sticking to the speed limit, you can also spend money and book a new DJ to freshen things up on the dance floor. This will give you a popularity boost, but the margin is much smaller at just 10%. The first time you hire a new DJ as well, just keep in mind you'll have to spend $100,000 on them, and every subsequent rebooking after that will cost $10,000. There are 4 DJs in total, and you get one of them for free at the start. So in practice, you just need to hire a second DJ, and then you can keep alternating and swapping between him and Solomon as many times as you want. Anything beyond a second DJ is unnecessary if you're a beginner. The only thing they do is just play different music and things like that. The third and final way of increasing popularity is by doing promotion missions for your nightclub. Now these can take upwards of 10 minutes, and they will give you a 25% popularity as a boost as well, similar to the bouncer and troublemaker missions. And there are different types of promotion missions. Some are a lot more tedious than others, and that's why I don't really recommend them. One of them is the blimp mission, in which you have to hover over an area while playing music. This one's awful just because the blimp is insanely slow and maneuvers like an oil tanker, so it takes you an eternity just to get between the various music spots, and while you're hovering, you have to make sure you don't go outside of the circle, otherwise your progress bar stops. Now I do have the Terabyte with the master control terminal installed, so I don't really have to deal with any of this. I just summon my Terabyte from the service vehicle section of the interaction menu and rebook a DJ for $10,000 to keep my popularity topped up at all times. But you can also just set your spawn location in nightclub as well. I do that a lot. If your popularity falls, your save will accumulate less cash daily, so it's important to not let your popularity fall too much, or else you'll lose a lot of passive income. Up to 90% popularity is where the cutoff is, and beyond this point, you'll lose a lot of cash. At 95%, you still get the full 50k a day. At 90%, it drops to 45k every in-game day. But once you go down to 85% popularity, your safe income will be just $25,000 for that day. And every day you lose 5% popularity, so don't go more than 2 in-game days without boosting the popularity of your nightclub. Now say if you don't have the master control terminal, you can just spawn into your nightclub every 48 minutes, like I said earlier, by setting the nightclub as your spawn point and creating a new invite-only lobby. There's no need to buy a private quarters here, as your nightclub already comes with the one installed in your office, so just spawn in every other hour and Marcel will give you a bouncer or VIP escort mission, which should help you replenish your popularity back to full. With legal income out of the way now, it's time to talk about the secret warehouse in the basement section of your nightclub. And this is where the real magic happens, and it's also the most complex part of owning a nightclub. At first, it might seem intimidating because you have all these technicians, 7 different types of goods, and they all accumulate stock at different rates and different times. Who do you assign, and to what? And when should you sell your goods? Don't worry, it's actually a lot simpler than you think, and I'm about to break it down for all of you who've yet to own a nightclub. Basically, the underground base in your nightclub is a smuggling racket, and you hire these technicians for each of your businesses. Now once hired, these guys will go out on their own and source products for you, and no, they don't take existing stock from those other businesses, so you don't have to worry about your Coca-Cola lockup or your warehouse losing stock if you assign a technician to that business in the nightclub. The stock that these guys source is separate from the goods that you sell from those other businesses, and you don't have to spend a single cent on sourcing any of it. In fact, you don't have to do anything at all. You just have to assign technicians and watch those bars fill up with goods over time. Once you feel like there's an ample amount of stock, you can undertake a sell mission. So if you open up the sell goods tab on your nightclub management screen, you can see the maximum holding capacity for each type of good and the number of crates you have right now. I wouldn't bother selling unless you have at least $200,000 to $300,000 worth of product in your storage. Anything less than that isn't really worth the time in my opinion, and I sell just when I get to over $1 million. I don't wait for my nightclub to fill up fully because that takes too long, and I'm also losing some product that has already filled and reached capacity and generated versus waiting for just filling up the last bar of product that I need. That way I could do more sell missions over time and not sacrifice goods. But either way, which businesses make the most cash in your nightclub? You have 7 different options, but only 5 technicians, so it's important to choose wisely. Now, fortunately, we have the exact numbers on how much these businesses make, and it turns out that the grass as well as the document forgery office are the 2 least profitable ones, so ignore those entirely. Those are organic produce as well as printing and copying. What you do need to do is assign technicians to cargo and shipments, sporting goods, South American imports, pharmaceutical research, as well as cash creation. Cargo and shipments is tied to your CEO warehouse or the hangar business, and this generates about $170,000 every 20 hours. If you have the storage upgrade, it can take up to 58 hours to max out the capacity, but ideally you don't need to wait more than 20 hours between nightclub sell missions because 3 of your other businesses, Coca-Cola, Math, and Cash, well, those will hit capacity and stop accumulating goods after 20 hours. And like I said earlier, if you wait any longer to sell, you're leaving money on the table. So do a sell mission about once every 20 hours with full Coca-Cola, Math, and Cash. Your Math lab is tied to the pharmaceutical research, and the Coca-Cola lockup is represented by South American imports. Sporting goods is where all your bunker product resides, and organic produce is where Snoop Dogg gets his magical green grass. Printing and copying refers to your document forgery business, something that no sane person should ever own in the first place, so you don't have to worry about that one in your nightclub warehouse as well, in addition to the grass farm. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the CEO warehouse, bunker, Coca-Cola lockup, and the cash factory, as well as the math, well, these are the only 5 goods worth sourcing, so assign your technicians to these. You get the first one for free, but every technician after that will cost you an increasing amount of money. The second one will cost you $141,000, and the final technician is worth $312,000. You can assign any technician to any business. They don't have any affinities or stats to make them better at a specific business or anything like that. That kind of would be cool, but it is what it is. And then the more expensive ones also just don't perform better. The only difference is that it's just Rockstar's way of making that grind just a little bit harder. Besides, you'll be making more than enough money after your first couple of techs, so you don't have to worry about the later ones getting more expensive and the fact that that will be draining your bank account. The cost of hiring them is nothing compared to the money that you'll be raking in from your nightclub in perpetuity once all 5 technicians are assigned to the corresponding correct businesses. Now, if you do a sell mission every 20 hours, you'll make about $50,000 per hour or $1 million per sell mission. Combine that with the $50,000 every in-game day that you make from your office safe, and that gives you over $100,000 per hour in passive income. And if you have a master control terminal, you don't even have to set foot in your nightclub except for the occasional sell mission. Alright, so we've come this far. It's now finally time to talk about selling your nightclub product. This is the only quote-unquote active part of running a nightclub because most of the other stuff just happens in the background. Before you do a sell mission, understand that Tony, the club's manager and your business partner, will take a 10% cut for himself. However, this is capped at $100,000, so if you sell for over $1 million, you'll get a higher portion of the money compared to selling just for $1 million or less. Also, there's a special order option which gives you a small bonus for delivering 3 specific types of goods to predetermined customers, but honestly, it's way simpler and more efficient to sell your entire stock the normal way, and that's what I do myself. But you can certainly try out the special orders if you want. There's no harm in it. Now, as for the sell mission itself, you'll always get 1 vehicle no matter how much product you have. This is another reason why I love the nightclub so much, because it's super solo friendly. No messing around with multiple sell vehicles like with the bunker and some other businesses. And if you have 89 crates or less, you'll get the Speedo custom van. For 90 to 179 crates, you'll get the Mule custom, which is the slowest and worst of the bunch, which, by the way, if you haven't purchased the Mule custom yet for your nightclub, do not buy it. If you have no sell vehicles purchased for the nightclub, only buy the Speedo custom as well as the Pounder. Avoid the Mule custom because once you have it, it's terrible. It'll take up that spot for the sale missions and you'll mostly be using that if you sell at about $1 million earned for the nightclub, and it just sucks for the sale missions. So on my main character, I'm screwed because I can't get rid of it, but on my second character, I only have the Speedo custom and the Pounder custom, and that way, whenever I'm selling like $1 million worth of nightclub stock, it's always giving me the Pounder custom because I don't have the Mule purchase, so it's not assigning me that vehicle for the sale mission. For many of you who already own the nightclub, you'll probably be in the same boat as I am with my main character, but if you're like me with my second character where I haven't purchased it yet, don't do it. But overall, like I said, definitely get that Pounder custom from Warstock Cash and Carry, as that will be substituted for the Mule custom, even if you have less than 180 crates, but more than 90. If you have less than 90 crates, you can use the Speedo custom for free, as that's what's included with your purchase of the Nightclub itself. Just I have to stress, do not obtain the Mule custom if you can help it, or if you have not already. Now, if you want to sell in public lobbies and take advantage of the high demand bonus, I also recommend a few upgrades for your Pounder custom, namely armor and weapons, but if you're playing in an invite-only session, there's no need to waste money on any delivery vehicle upgrades unless you just like the way they look. At least, performance I'll upgrade, but you don't need any of the other weapons and bells and whistles and things like that. And there you have it, guys, my complete A to Z guide on operating a nightclub in GTA Online. It's still the best source of passive income, or one of the best sources in my opinion, followed closely by the Acid Lab and other businesses of the like, and it's also extremely solo friendly, as you can see. So if you have a warehouse or a few MC businesses, I highly recommend purchasing a nightclub to complement those businesses. It's stress-free, easy to run, and it will generate you over $100,000 per in-game hour. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to drop a like on today's video if you guys enjoyed the information, or if you just found it helpful. Subscribe to the channel for more GTA Online content uploaded every single day, and make sure to check me out over on twitch.tv/hazardoushdtv for a consistent weekly GTA Online live streams every single day as well. Hopefully you all have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios, amigos.